But thank you so much. I love these guys. Thank you for getting time to be here. We are so much behind schedule, and so I will ask that we move with speed. Did I say we are beginning today with the questions? And if you have any question that you feel we should begin tackling first, we'll begin with that. Can that be okay? I feel like if I sit, nitahisi baridi. Ama uko chini ko sawa. The higher you go, the cooler it becomes. Okay. So I should sit. Yeah, some of these principles work, right? Yeah, okay, good. Uko poa? Good. So, any questions? And if there are no questions, then we go straight to the next number. Do we? So that is Anne, our secretary. She is here today. Anne, right? Good. And I want to report that the person who handed over, he ably did your work. Good, good. Anyone who is joining us for the first time today? You're joining us for the first time? Oh, yes, my girlfriend. Yes, it's okay. Huyu tumetoka naye mbali sana. Si ni kweli? Itabidi wajue. Yeah, so thanks for... She has been coming, but sometimes she leaves early, and so it's nice to have you on board. So my name is Pastor Bhen, Obwoge. I've been speaking to, not really speaking, but I've been leading the discussion. So welcome on board. And we hope that we are going to be blessed together. It's a workshop. It's not preaching. Here we call a spade by its name. Some of the languages you're going to hear, you may not hear it anywhere. And so I hope that will still keep you to remain to be a Christian even after this workshop. Asanteni sana. Okay. So the next one, Anne? The next one, no, I think there's one we didn't finish yesterday. Did we? I gave you some homework to do, right? Yes. On what to look at. And I know that as much as we can't exhaust that, it's important that you get to know that those are very important things. There's a friend who wanted to share with us a testimony. Oh, yes. I remember. Oh, I thought I'm aging, but I can remember some things. So our sister, she's going to give us a testimony on which number? On which point?
It was about the background.
Yes, on the background. How is it important to check on the background of the person that you're marrying? Does the background matter? If you're marrying from a family where the mother, who is to be your mother-in-law, yeye ndiye ako in charge, what does it mean to you? Yeye ndiye amekalia bwana yake. Then unajua kwamba utakaliwa. Why are you looking? You're getting surprised. Because the role model of this girl, ameona vile mama anatoa sauti, mzee ananyamanza. So atakuja atoe sauti, usiponyamaza mtapigana. So that's why it's important to check on this background. If you're marrying a man, all the brothers who are married in their family, wameoa mara mbili wakifukuza. Hata kama ni harusi and stuff like that. You should know that some of these things are running in their family. Get to understand these things. Family background. Umeoa familia ambayo kwao ni wakora. They're just liars. Then you know you have a liar, hata kama amebatizwa. Unajua mapema. Ni watu ambao ni which other thing that really cuts across on the family background? Witchcraft. Yeah, hiyo by the way hata si rahisi kujua. Ni yeye amua kuambia iko kwetu lakini mimi sina, you know. And something else I've also realized. By the way, usiogope na mambo ya uchawi because hata wachawi wanajuana, so they get married to each other. Sometimes hawataki kurisk because ni rahisi atatambulika mapema na atatolewa. So in most cases wanatafutana tu. Kama kweli ni wachawi, hata si kutafutana, kwa sababu hutaki kuacha, kuna vile Mungu anakuacha unapata mchawi mwenzako. Inakuwa ni very natural. But it's important to understand these things. Kama iko, take your time. Tumeelewana vizuri? Beautiful, that's great. I love that openness. One of the things I'm picking is not even the story. One thing I'm learning from her is, ukiwa kwa mapenzi, tumia pia akili. You know, sometimes you can be moved with feelings until you stop thinking. Sana kweli? Sana where sex has been involved. And I hope you know that once you have sex with someone, you stop thinking straight. Anything they tell you seems to be the gospel truth. Hata kuambia kwamba Mungu hayuko, unamwamini because at that time it's not even you who is thinking. So it's important that you check on your on the background of this person, and Pierre may propose the people you can talk to. Use the people that you can trust. Because I also know of relationship that has been ruined by friends. Naambia mtu niangalilie na kweli anakuangalilia. So you should know who you are asking to help you get the information that you need. Si hapo ni sawa? Very good. Now, is there something else? Yes.
I was asking about this point of healthy background.
Yes. Yeah, we are coming there. Thank you. We are coming there. Now, let me just go in order so I don't miss anything here. Oh, there's a hand. Yes, sir.
Okay,
That is great. They said that the fruit does not fall far from. Si ni kweli? Unaweza pata kwamba mtu yuko hapa na tunda imeanguka huko chini. So sometimes if you want to know what is happening, if you're interested with that fruit, check on the background of the tree. This is very important. And you people, count yourself blessed that you are hearing this talk. It doesn't matter, because sometimes we feel we have gone so deep until we feel some things are not very important. There's nothing like deep in a relationship. It's only marriage that you can't come out, according to the Bible. It says some of the things, if for instance you've got into it and then you realize you've married someone who is very arrogant, what do? Unavumilia. Sasa hapo ndo unaingia, unajua what it means kukaa jikoni na jacket na kuna moshi. Utoi ni hapo. But if there are things you can do in advance, please do them. Amen? Hapo ni sawa? Yes. Yes, there's no problem, you can marry, but you know that you are marrying part of that history. Na sio mbaya. Some of these women are fighters. Then you know you have a fighter. But you also know you have a woman who can easily do away with you. Like wewe kwenda is not something that is funny. Because amesoma na mama yake. So the things we are saying here is not to keep you away. We are not saying that these women cannot be romantic, these men cannot be romantic. They can make very good husbands. But then you know there are things that might influence some of the decisions in your marriage. Because it's a reality. It's a reality. Are you getting me? It's a reality. We are not saying that if you marry a girl who was raised by a single mother, kwamba naye pia atakuja kuwa single. No, but we are simply saying kuna hiyo element kwamba it can happen. So when it happens, then you know how to counter it because you know it in advance. Kwa nini gari mpya ikitoka kwa gari inakojanga na spare part? Like ukinunua gari mpya, it has to have a spare wheel. Kwa nini? Na ni mpya. Why? Because they are not so sure of the four where you can have a puncture. Sindio? So that's why you want to have this information in advance. I am marrying her. I love her. But she's from this background. How do I move forward? If this happens, then it's not a surprise. Then you know how to counter it. Tumeelewana vizuri? But again, if you realize you cannot be able to counter it, achana sahi. Because it can happen. I have seen it. My wife, ambaye nimeoa, mke wangu, mamake ndiye ako na sauti kuliko my father-in-law. My father-in-law is a pastor. And so when I was marrying this girl, I knew I am marrying someone mwenye amejua wamama ndio wanaongea sana. So tukiwa kwa nyumba kuna wakati anasahau, anaongea kama mama yake vile anaongelesha baba yake. So what I do, I give her time. Akimaliza namkumbusha. Namwambia wewe, kumbuka hapa si unaelewa? Then like, oh yeah, I remember. It doesn't end once. Then you know in advance. It's not a shock because if you don't check on these things, utaanza kusema amenidharau na kumbe si madharau. Umeoa firstborn na wewe ni lastborn. You know what that means? Atakuwa nakupea direction. Kama wewe kwenu ni kama if your boyfriend ni lastborn. You know what that means? Ni mtoto all the time. Ni toto. So hata kama umemshinda miaka, amezoea kubakishiwa. Amezoea kudekezwa. So if you marry a man who is a firstborn, then you know naturally ni leader. Atakuwa anapeana orders unnecessarily. So you don't go fighting back. Okay, tell me, what amount of prayer can change someone who is a firstborn, a guy secondborn? If you fast for 21 days, can that change? So kubali. Don't underrate these things. Just know what kind of a person you're taking. And thank you for raising that. That is of importance. Now, check our family background. We talked about culture. That is the tribe. Tulisungumzia hiyo? Yes. Atusungumzia. I want to make a statement. Because I hear this very common, and actually it's very common in Nairobi. I know of some young people, those of you who are with me at Kaga, there were people who were supposed to wed immediately after the meeting. But because the lady was a Kikuyu and the boy was a Luo, the parents, they said, politically we are not compatible, so you're not marrying from that tribe. Political compatibility. And you know, it carried the day. And because the boy really wanted this girl, you know what he did? After the guy amemwambia wazazi wangu, kwanza wazazi wa msichana ndio walikataa. Sisi ni Wakikuyu, we can't marry Luos. No, we can't. Pro box na Benz haziende pamoja. Funny statements. So what this girl did, akasema okay, wazazi wangu wamekataa ndio. Akasema fine. So what the boy did, in 3 months, I think 2 or 3 months, he got someone else, wakaoana. So that means there was someone in the relationship. Of course, later on we begin to ask ourselves, kuna makosa gani hapo? That's something else. Because then I will ask this question, was the relationship, walikuwa wameanza courtship, ama bado walikuwa dating? And when you are dating, are you limited to date one person, or you can date several? These are the things you think you know. Mnaona sasa? Kuna vitu mnajichocha kwamba mnajua, si ndio? You don't know because hujui utumie standard gani? Standard ya internet. Because ukigugu it tells you what to do. Ama utumie standard ya nini? Ya Biblia na ya roho wa unabii. Okay? All right. Okay, that's why we're in this place. We are coming there. Now, it didn't work out because of that. And how the whole story ended, it was so bad. Because your msichana, until 2019, before she left the country, she went to the US, she had attempted to kill herself like 3 times. Like Maratatu. And I have the conversation on my phone. Sijai delete. She told me, Pastor, I think today is my last day. I have no reason to continue living. I have no reason to continue living. But of course, later on, she opened why she could not continue living. She had aborted twice for this boy, just to have that public image. Sema nikikumbuka kwamba ameniacha, I've even aborted twice. Who am I? I would rather have continued with him with this history. At least ibaki mimi na yeye. Naenda kuianzia wapi? That's why I tell you guys, when you're in a relationship, some of the things we are doing now, just ask yourself, can you move with the balance of what you are doing to the next relationship? If you can't move with that kind of a balance, keep it off. Yaani mnanyamaza mpaka mnanishtua. Mnashtuka? Yeah. Okay. Now, there are only 2 tribes, as I conclude, and then you'll give a statement. There are only 2 tribes that are very hard to intermarry. Write them. Tribe 1. Makabila ni ngapi? Mawili. Hayo nayo ni ngumu. Unapoingia hapo, jipange sana. Tribe number 1. Tribe of the rich and the tribe of the poor. Don't laugh. Write it down. This is out of experience. It has happened. And so if you consider you are coming from a tribe called the rich and you are considering marrying from the tribe called the poor, be careful. If you are coming from the tribe called the poor and you want to marry from the tribe of the rich, be extra vigilant. Don't ask me how do you measure a poor person and a rich person. Tusiende hapo, hata wewe unajua. You have this boyfriend ukifika kwao, hata unashindwa kukula. They are so rich, they are very classy. Umesikia kwamba kuna msichana ameolewa kwa familia matajiri na akifika huko anakuwa ni mbochi? Naturally. Si ati wanakuambia kuwa unajipata wewe uko jikoni na kuosha vyombo, uko hapo tu. It's because tribe yako na hii aziende pamoja. Ama your boy ni so rich akiwatembelea anashindwa kukula kwenu. So anakuja kama amekula ameshiba. Because sasa you know sawa ni spinach lakini sasa ya kwenu very natural. Na si ati anajifanya ni tribe yake. Kuni mnakula ugali mnakata hivi. Amezoea kutumia the instruments, the apparatus. Si kweli? How do you do that? These things work out. We went with a friend of mine, a Luo friend was marrying from ni Ukambani ama ni Meru, one of those tribes. So tumeenda pale, this guy akatuma samaki in advance. Samaki wingi sijui ni 50. So tukaenda pale ni siku ya harusi, so tukajua kwamba tunapikiwa fish. By the time tunasaviwa, it was one meal with everything. Yani kuna samaki, kuna karoti, kuna mchere, kuna ni kama ilipikwa yote pamoja, you know. Sasa inamalizika kuitwa mashakura. Mashakura ni nini? Mix of what? Everything. Umeifika na wakikusavu hivyo, they are very happy. Wanakusavu wakimaliza, wanakuwekea kandazi moja hapo kando. And they're okay. And this little man all the time was like, picha zote ako hivyo. Amekuwa embarrassed. Angejua mapema that is how they do it, angeadjust mind yake. Si ndio? So some of these things unakubali. Mkisi, trust me, marry a Kisi. Hata upike chapati ambayo umetumia kompyuta kumeasure the ingredients, lazima upike ugali. You know? Hata nisipokula nione hapo. That is it. Are we talking it? Si ni ukweli? Hata kujichocha unajua mimi ni chapo, that is okay, but you are marrying this culture. I will come with the way I eat and the way I do other things. There are some cultures I don't knock to come in and eat. I simply come. Before you even say karibu, nimenawa mkono. Na niko kwa meza, si ni kweli? Yeah. But nimewambia tribe ambayo ni ngumu ni gani? The rich and sijasema usioe, but as you do that, no, hiyo ndio inakuanga so much incompatible. Umeona wakati ambapo one family ni rich na nyingine ni poor, hata kwa functions wanashindwa kuita. Hata vile umedress ukiingia huku, you just feel. Do you know what it means if your parent-in-laws came to visit you, alafu wanafika kwa nyumba, hata vile wamevaa shiny clothes, na mtu anafanya hivi ukiangalia. Alafu ndiye anakaa. Na si ati ni it's not meant for you. Anatakiwa kuwa secure na nguo zake. Si ati ni madharau anaonyesha, wacha kufanya hapana, ni tribe yake. Na vile amevaa. Na sio kwamba is not comfortable, but he wants to be sure that he is okay. Tribe yake anamwambia before you sit, check. But how will you conceive that? Kwake si madharau. And the next time, you will never invite them. Is that marriage going to work? Please go. Yeah, because I don't know what they check. Inakuanga ni very natural. Ni very natural. No. Ama unapata anafika, anafungua bag, anatoa kitambaa, anatandika ndiye anakaa. Umesema madharau kwa sababu kabila yako ni nyingine. You know, one of the things, I hear what you're saying truly, but one of the things we want to see is that can this marriage work without straining? Do you know sometimes depending on where you're marrying from, you can end up borrowing things. Do people borrow even utensils? Yes. That is not right. Why should you borrow utensils to feed your in-laws? What are you? There's something you're hiding because you're not of the same tribe. Are you getting me, children of God? And people do these things. Labda mzee ana kofia mzuri mnaenda kumnunulia vae aonekana on that day. Then you realize kofia ni kubwa kuliko kichwa. Akifanya hivi inaanguka, anaokota. Nyinyi mnacheka because maybe you are not there. But the only tribe, let me tell you one thing. In terms of what we call tribes in our economy, Wajaluo, Wakisii, Wameru, Wakamba, Wakale, to me, those tribes have no problem. But anyway, again, as you pick from those tribes, you should know their way of life. Sawa sawa? Mkisia kija kuone kama umemuoa, it's important ujue kwamba wazee hawakuli hata ugali ya white, ni ya brown. Na ujue vile inapikwa. Na ujue lazima kuwe na maroranu, ile yenye ukiangalia unasikia kutabika. Sisi, it is the best. Are you getting me? That is it. Ujue kwamba baba Mkisia akikuja kukuona na ni baba yako, hata kama umejenga nyumba na iko na 12 bedrooms, hawezi lala kwa hiyo nyumba. Hiyo ni nyumba ya mtoto. Babaka anaweza kuja alale next room na hamuna shida. Me, it cannot happen like that. So when you know how these tribes operate, you will not have a problem. Don't be shocked when they are home. Do enough research. That is what we are saying. Amen? Now, on health background, that's what my son asked. And I want to respond quickly by saying, and I hope you're okay when I call you my son. Thank you. All of you are my sons until you get married. And you're my daughters. Sawa sawa. Simnasikia poni kiweta my son. And if I call you my son or my daughter, then you are because like my daughters, by the way, you will see them. I have big girls like you. And they're all my darlings, they're my sweethearts. Because I tell my girls, I am the first boyfriend. And for you to have them, you must beat me in competition. Hello? Si hapo ni sawa? Si hapo ni sawa? Yes. Yeah. I teach them. They learn from me because I think I'll tell them the truth on how men operate. So they learn from me. I've also asked my wife to be the first girlfriend to my son. The only person who can tell you the truth without having any vested interest is your parent, if he's there. Awange? Okay, for another day. For another day. For another day. Hello? Hapa ni sawa? All right. Now, on health background, I just want to mention one thing. It's important to know, tukisema health background, it does not stop at the person you want to marry. It also goes beyond the family. Just know, familia yao inakuanga na health challenges gani. Wanakuanga na pressure, wanakuanga diabetic, kuna epilepsy. Just know these things. Ndio sahi ana epilepsy, lakini inakuaga. Are you getting that? Do they have some issues in health? So that when you marry, then you know, because you're not marrying her, you are marrying her under their health. Sitaki kuzungumzia mambo ya HIV and AIDS or STIs, that is normal. But there's a very serious thing that is now coming up, and it's what we call sickle cell anemia. A very serious problem. I hope you all know, I don't know if we have that breakthrough so far. I know, was it in Australia, they were trying to come up with some medication that if both of you have it, if you have that challenge, you can still have that medication and then both of you can have a child who will survive. But so far, if there's no breakthrough of such, if both of you are sickle cell anemia carriers, you know you cannot have a child who can survive. We are not telling you to stop, to marry someone who is sickle cell anemia like you. But again, you should know that if you marry such a person, what awaits you. Some of these decisions must be made early before you settle down in marriage. Si hapo ni sawa? Si hapo ni sawa? Yes. So get to know. Ask. These are the things you talk about. Wacha kuzungumza yake nikikuona nitakujengea nyumba kama ile. Hiyo ni OB. We have real stuff that you talk. Tumeelewana vizuri? And be open. Mwambie sisi kwetu we have this problem, we have this problem. Na wewe mwambie. Then kama mwezi kujua how to handle, then ask an expert. If I have this, if I'm come from this background, na yeye anatoka hii background iko na this issue, what happens? Then you're able to know where you're getting yourself into. Tumeelewana? Any question that far end? Thank you. Yes, my dear.
It's also necessary to check the blood group. There's an O negative and O.
Yes. Yes, that's important. Yeah. Kuna blood groups zinaweza wasumbua mbeleni. Just get to know them in advance. And thank God we have this technology. Do you know those days, like during my time, do you know how costly were some of those tests? They were not even available. I did most of the tests in Kisumu. Imagine from Kisii to Kisumu. Kama ni HIV test, tulikuwa na ile sijui ni rapid, achana rapid. Kuna ile yenye unapimwa leo, unangoja majibu for 3 weeks. Umekufa hujui what is going to come out. Hujui. Most of you are sexually active. Lakini ya siku hizi, hata mnajipima tu, una mesi leo, unangoja 1 month. Kuna hiyo kitu, unasema si leo, unasema nitajipima kesho. We do it by ourselves, but it's important that you do these tests. They are for your own good. Sawa sawa. Vitu zingine, jiokoa atakuwa kuombea mbele. Wacha kuingia kwa kitu ambacho ungejisaidia, then you are in need, then you begin now asking God to come for the intervention. Talk to God now. There's a way you can handle it. Amen. Hapo ni sawa. Any question that far end? I want to go to something else because of time. Thank you. Now, there's something else I think I skipped. I know this is going to raise a little bit of our tempers. Now, if you are courting someone and you want to settle down, get to also know how many times they have been dumped or they have dumped someone. Hawezi kuambia. Hapa hakuna Ukristo. No, they will. They will. They will. I'm sorry if you've only had girls who can tell you. I know we have very honest girls who can tell you the truth. They will tell you, look here, you're not my first boyfriend, you're not my second boyfriend, you're my 6th boyfriend. And this is what happened the first one, and this happened the second time, and this is what happened the third time. They will tell you this. People are very mature. Because you see, let me tell you one thing. You can hide these things. But you are going to have one prayer, and you're going to be a slave by praying hard for these things not to service in marriage. Because the day it will be known that hukusema ukweli, they will doubt even your name. And that is the worst thing. So speak the truth. Why is it important? Now listen to this. An injured person in terms of a relationship, the performance is questionable. If you marry someone who has been hurt by another man, just know you get someone who has already wounds. Na atakuwa na kutreat, akiavoid. So any sign itaonekana ambayo ilikuwa in the previous relationship, atakuwa ana react in a different manner. So it's important to know this history. Then you know how to handle this person. What happened? Then you know kwamba mimi, he dumped me because I refused to have sex with him. Then you know very well, if you are here and you are in for sex, then you know what is awaiting for you. Because bado atakunyima na bado mtaachana. Lakini kumbuka, mkiachana utakuwa second. If that was your first girlfriend, na wewe utakuwa umeanza kuhesabu, utakuwa umeacha wa kwanza. Because sometimes we think by dumping them, since tumeenda free, when a relationship ends and you are picking on the second one, both of you are not beginning on a fresh page. You already have a paragraph that you are moving with. Si ni kweli? Yes. You want this up?
There's something that is really disturbing. Is sex a stamp of each marriage themselves? Is it a stamp that if you don't do sex, you can't marry?
What did we say about it? You were not with us yesterday, I guess. What did we say about it? Is it? No. We said, for a man, when you have sex, chances of losing this woman are very high because you have nothing again to look for. And for a girl, when you have sex, you have signed a check of saying, please go. Because there's nothing new again to offer. So it's a stamp of separation, if you can call it like so. It's not a stamp of keeping you together. And we asked ourselves yesterday, if you offer sex now, what will you offer in marriage? Tell me, what is this you're moving to? Ni nini sasa uko umeshikilia mpaka kwa ndoa? Iko? There's nothing. Hakuna. Okay, kama iko muniambie leo. Kuna nyingine tena? Ah? There's nothing else. Ah? Kupika chakula? Do you know that we have the best cooks are in hotels? Yeah, and we have chefs, right? If I want the best, and that is why you don't marry someone because they cook so good. It's important to cook good, but it's not a reason. And I'll be honest with you here. The only thing a man needs in life, I wish I could talk about that. The first thing a man cannot do without in marriage is sex. Hiyo tuambiane ukweli. Hata wewe ni pastor kama mimi ameokoka. I can't do without sex. Utanipikia nikule, utaniambia stories sawa, but if there's no sex, sikuoni. I can't even identify that you are around. Sex, men cannot do without sex. Hata kama ni ule wa kuamka saa 9 na kuomba, atamaliza saa maombi saa 9:30 anataka sex. Let me ask you this. Do you think there's something that can replace sex? Is there something that can replace sex? Can a good car replace sex? Can a good job replace sex? No. Men cannot do without sex. But women can do without sex. I am telling you, women can do without sex. But they cannot do without affection. Sorry? Attitude. Ya nini? Nani? Is that a youth speaking or a married man? Which class is this? Wait, which class am I? In class again? In young couples. Na imagine akisema attitude, huyo si mmoja, si ndio? Ni kama ameona. Tusahau ya nyuma, tuangalie aliyo wapi. Hiyo attitude, and I'm glad it came before you got married. So, mbele ni kuna zingine. Some of these things, just wait until when you are there, you know how to handle them. Sawa? You know how to handle them. And so, I was just mentioning that affection is what women need. Against all these things that we know, we need to understand them. So, an injured person in terms of a relationship, I want you to know if you have someone who has been heartbroken several times, their performance in a relationship will have questions. They will be very careful on what to say. They'll be very careful on how to do things. In the process, they will not be themselves. Sometimes on a part, on a realize, you ni pretender. Certainly pretender, ako very careful because hajui kama anaweza kuhadi tena umwache. So because they are already wounded. And the chances are that is who we are. That's why you hear someone, simuelewi siku hizi, sio kupenda kwake. Ni kwa sababu pia she or he is trying to play safe because of the previous experiences. And so as you get into knowing someone, just get to know how is their life, how have they been. Ni watu wameachwa, ni mtu ambaye ameacha watu. Because if you talk about it, then you will know how to handle them. Atakwambia mimi tuliachana, not really because of sex. Tuliachana naye because alikuwa ananiomba pesa sana. I tried to give, nikaona I'm getting broke. That is why I got out of that relationship. Not that I'm mean, but I just felt like she was using me. Then you know who you are dealing with. This person is wounded in terms of ya kutumiwa vibaya. So when you come in, kama ulikuwa na hiyo agenda, then you know how to handle it. Na inakuwa ni very natural. Sasa tunaishield, kama ameumia kwa pesa wacha nimwache kidogo, akue nayo ndio pia nimuanze. That is not being Christian. Okay. Do you realize sometimes how you treat your second boyfriend, your second girlfriend? Sometimes it depends on how you were treated in the previous relationship. Yeah. So it's important you know these things. Because some of the things will be a shocker to you, and that will not be so very good. Now, another one, because of time, there are women that we call feminists. I'm still in charge. I'm the chairman now. You want to be down. Sometimes kama siwezi shikilia hivyo, tunaweza songa kweli? Hatuwezi. I'm coming back to just ishikilie. A feminist ni nani? Tell me. Wala mume soma hapa. I want to hear from you as a feminist.
Well, it depends.
Yes.
You asked me and say I'm a feminist.
Yes.
But what African women perceive as feminism, I don't think that is what was intended.
So who are you by telling us you're a feminist?
Well, I'm a person who believes in equality between men and women.
I also believe, but to some degree, we are not equal. But to some degree, we are. In Christ, there is no man, there is no woman. I'm just encouraging you to talk about that, yes.
It depends, because again, there's toxic feminism. And
Talk about it. I mean, and you know there's a reason that's why I'm giving you this chance. Because I know your profession. We want to learn from you. I'm glad I've met this girl before.
yes, there's toxic feminism, where like women feel they should be some sort of superior. You say there are places where we can't be equal, and there are places where it calls for equality. So what defines positive feminism and negative feminism will depend in which field are you fighting for equality.
Beautiful. That is basically what I wanted to hear from you. That as you sit down, talk about these things. That to me, they are things we shall be at bar. Mukubaliane mapema. Tumeelewana? Asianze kukuita feminists on the things that you are not, that you should agree. Tumeelewana vizuri? But let me make this statement. There's no room within Christendom for Christian feminists. Remember, our context of discussion is between where? Christian. But outside, you can have other debates. Okay? Now, though women and men have equal values in the eyes of the Lord, that one we know. Before the Lord, we are all children of who? Of God. That's why Paul says when he speaks, I think, to the church in, is it in Galatia or in Corinthians, he says, in the Lord, there is no Jew, there's no Gentile. Even sex says that there is no female, there's no male. That is in the Lord. In the operations, in matters of salvation. Men will not be saved more because they were men, and the women because they were women. Before the Lord, we are equal. But these are some of the things that we need to talk about. That according to me, this is what I think in terms of feminism. Isitokee kwa ndoa, na usifike kwa ndoa sema kwamba hii siwezi sema saa hii anaweza niacha. Wacha tukifika ndani ndio nifanye hiyo, ndio nimwambie mimi ni nani. Kubaliana mapema. Because what will happen is that you will be another story in the newspaper. I believe that you are aware that stories in the newspaper, the print media, and even bila ambao tunaona kwa TV, stories zimeisha. Utasikia mwanaume alimkata viganja vya mguu mwanamke kwa sababu. It's a story. Tutashangaa one evening and it is gone. So agree on these things in advance. Sawa sawa. All right. Tumesema kuhusu education background that we talked about. Msiachane sana, and we said that the challenge sio kwamba you cannot be married, but when you have a big difference in terms of education, some things, even the way you view life will be different. And people begin to strain. Tumeelewana vizuri? Like now, I know we have women, unapata umesoma kuliko your husband. Then again, you know what that means. Because naturally, ukisoma sana, na ukipata kazi, chances are you'll be earning more. Unless your husband hajasoma sana na anafanya biashara ambayo he earns more. And you know, in every marriage, whoever earns more is the head of the family. Na inakuwa tu ni very, si ati napenda, 10 minutes to go. So I think that point is home. If you have any question that you can ask, education is very important, and that is okay. One of the things that education fights, and we talk about this kind of levels, is it makes one to fight what we call inferiority complex. Hakuna kitu kibaya kama uko kwa ndoa and you feel so inferior. So inferior. Si mzuri. But when you're moving at the same level, inasaidia sana. What else is here? Tuliongea juu ya kuonekana. Tukasema, na ninawaambia ukweli. Nyakati zetu kuna injili tulipewa na haikuwa poa. Usiangalie sura, angalia roho. Shida ni ile wako tuambia vile tunaangalia roho. Tukabaki kwa roho. Wengine wakasahau sura. Sasa hizi wanalia. I am telling you, marry someone that you can love to walk around with. But it is not the basic. Tumeelewana vizuri? Marry someone. Hata una imagine mimi na yeye tukipata mtoto atakuwa aje. It's a good thinking. Si sawa? Yeah. Because those are the pictures you have. Nani hapa hana picha? Ukipenda unasema, nimemuoa, tumepata watoto wawili, Charlie na demu, nimebeba mmoja, amebeba mwingine, tuna walk in a park. That's what you think. And then you forget what if children don't be there, you know. Those things are there. Si ni kweli? And so, so I will encourage you that take your time. Marry someone that you are attracted to. Zaidi ya tabia, marry someone that you love. Unapenda sema huyu, this is good. I don't know who told girls that when you are light-skinned, ndio wanaume wanakupenda. Do you know there are men who never notice light-skinned girls? Hata ukipita hapa hawezi kumbuka ulipita. But akiona a dark girl, hata mfuata mpaka akipita nyuma ya gari, macho yataka kupita nyuma ya gari, ameenda wapi? Si ni kweli? Yes. And so sometimes it's not about what, and I think what is spoiling us is what we are reading in the magazines. Unaona mtu ambaye labda ako kwa Instagram because ako light skinned, ako na more followers, and then you also think that if you were, it will be the same. It is not the case. Just be natural, be who you are, and it shall be well with you. Sawa sawa. I think, is there something else that I haven't mentioned? Not very. This is okay, and I will stop there. Who has a question? That's what I've said. Past experience and past relationships. Yeah, talk. But before we are done with our meetings, probably tomorrow and Friday, there's something I prepared briefly. The thing I was talking about, what did you say and when do you say it? Because you don't meet someone for the first day, uanze kumwambia past experience. Mimi niko hivi, mademu 12 wamepita mbele yangu. Do you say it at an early stage? At what point did you say what? You getting to me, son? Yes, when do you say what? Because sometimes, again, you might realize that there are things you are saying but too soon. Or there are things you are saying but too late. If you have a child, like my sister, at what point do you tell someone, I have a child? Nimekupea namba ya simu lakini kabla hujaenda waje nikuambie. Is that when you say it? I also believe that by the time someone is coming to approach you, some of the basics they know. Si ni kweli? Unless ni kitu umeficha sana. Kitu ambacho umeficha sana. But it can be able to work out for you. Now, who was a question? There was a hand. And there's some, let me take the numbers. 1, 2, number 3. We'll take the 2 questions. I remember there was something I said I was going to share with you why the Adventist girls take slightly longer as single ladies, though they later on get married. Can I unlock that? I think I've shared this in some other meeting, but I want to say it again today. Let's hear number 1, what you have. Is it for me or for the whole class?
Okay, so just an addition.
Please go ahead. Okay.
When we are talking about sharing, like your first relationship, I wanted to ask you when and what is the appropriate time, and of course you captured that. And then, who comes first? Because what's the importance of being honest? And who comes first? Because you can open up to someone and then they start playing you up. You assume, okay? So that's what you tell them they want to keep. They also share the same. Yes. So who comes first and what is the importance of being honest in this situation? Sharing your first experience.
I don't know whether you could allow me to change the question just a little bit. Who do you share to? Is it someone you are courting or someone you are dating? And I'm making very serious assumptions that you are aware. At this level, you know what is dating and what is courting. Because do you share during dating or during courtship? Huh? Don't scare me that you don't know these things. Dating. That's when you share. Oh my goodness. Are you telling me to go back to the definitions of dating? Just a moment, my brother. Just a moment. I'm giving you time to speak. Okay, now you can speak. Because they are quiet now, they can hear you.
There was something you were asking that how many should you date many or one? In connection to that, I think because
We ask
if
what
you're
is
dating
sufficient
many,
dating?
if you're dating many,
What is
we
dating?
relate to you one. Then
Okay, I just want to go to the basics. What is dating? Because I was making an assumption that these are things that you know. By the time you are sitting here, I thought these are basics. Introduction to. So what is dating? Because if you have the right definition of dating, then we can begin to figure out what happens during dating and what should be taken and what should not happen during dating, and it should happen where? In courtship. What is dating? Don't tell me to give you that definition because I can't, and that's the truth. How many of you have ever dated before? Dated before? Just raise up your hands. Or are still dating now? That's what I'm asking. Okay, let's hear from you again.
Dating is more of a friendship, okay? You identify someone and you think this person we can move with somewhere. So before you declare your intention on them, you can always put them closer so that you know them before you get to that point. So that's the time me I consider dating, okay? So we can meet once in a while, we can catch up, just to know you better, we're just friends, and without intention of, okay, I can be having an intention of getting into a relationship with you, but I'm not being clear.
Okay, okay. Another definition. There's a lot of sense in what we're saying. Huh?
Dating is the process where the opposite sex comes into what we call love. The process of
Ebota kizungu mingi, wewe tuambie dating mara ngapi? At the process of coming together with something called love. Is this guy a Luo? Is he a Luo? Ah, I understand. Okay. By the way, there's something I'm learning from him. Okay? Do you know why he's struggling? Because all of us, we don't know whether we have been dating, what were we doing. That is exactly, was I in love? Huh? That is the confusion. And I think that is why we easily say, I've been hurt. How can someone who is dating you hurt you? He shouldn't hurt you. Why should people dating you hurt you? Because I pick one statement from what he said. In dating, no declaration of interest. And this can be initiated by both sexes. Either girl, like by the time munatoka dating, mnaenda courtship, is when you declare what? The interest, then you graduate from dating. Sasa mnaanza nini? Courtship. So there is no love in dating. There's no mention of I love you in dating. The problem is that when you Google, it tells you date your love. That is where the problem is. In the context of Christians, we don't date for love. We date to identify if we can love. And so because we have not identified, we don't even say, I love you. That is why a date, you can't call it mtu mmoja. Because the moment unamuita for a cup of coffee, atuone vile anakunywa, it's not the date. You have graduated to something else. And that is wrong. And that is where we go wrong. And that's where you hear heartbreaks. Because anakuita for a cup of tea, yeye anajua nini anafanya, wewe umechichocho utafikiri amekukatia. Ukimwona na mwingine unakufa. Na yeye hajakuambia kitu. How can someone call me for lunch and they called someone else? So, na amesema vizuri, you are a friend. Why do you feel bad kukuona na friend mwingine na friend mwingine? How many girlfriends do you have? Girlfriends. In English, girlfriends. How many do you have? So many. So what is wrong in having so many girlfriends? But when you have a sinful mind, have so many girlfriends, are you saved? Yes. Neither we have grown up in a society that by the time you call someone girlfriend, you may graduate. See, assuming I wasn't married, I'm a single boy. How can I call him? Can I call him my boyfriend? Who is she to me? Girlfriend. So all the female friends you have in your circle, they are what? But Kari jemetuambia girlfriend ni demu wako. And that is wrong. So when someone mmekutana, and that's what we are saying, if you are dating someone and you want to learn something about ya kumuoa, Don't have secret meetings. Don't even meet the two. By the way, if I want to know how you respond, if I want to know how you eat, must I call you for a lunch date? Takungoja tukikula church, niona how you eat, if that's what I wanted to know. After all, ile yenye unamuita, anakuja kupretend. If you want to know how men eat, wata kwa hoteli atanakula chips mbili. Muone vile anakula chati kidheri na mikono hivi. That is who he is. So sometimes the best time to identify behavior ya mtu sio mkiwa wawili, because mkiwa wawili kuna nini? A lot of pretense. Akijua kwamba anakuja, atavaa vizuri, atajispray vizuri, atakunyolea vizuri. That is not dating. Kutana. Wewe kaa tu hivi muangalie. Hata unaona kwa line mnapanga line mnaenda kuserve, anaruka watu wawili. Unajua ndio huyo. Ananga patience na food. Kama ni chakula mzuri anakula, unaona amegeuza spoon kutoka chini, ameanza kuilamba. Ama anamaliza kukula food, unaona ameanza kulamba vidole. Lakini mkiwa na yeye kwa hoteli, anaweza lamba vidole? Hawezi. So, and that is where we go wrong. Before you declare your interests, date these people. And that's why I said when it comes to dating, it is personal. Because the person you are dating, trust me, they are not even aware that you are dating them. You only single out, I think I have about 5 people that I want to date. So naanza kuwa watch from a distance. No physical, no personal meeting. But by the time you pick on one and you say, this is my interest, akikubali, you are no longer dating, you are moved to what? Courtship. Sasa kwa courtship, hapa ndio kuna mambo. Ndio tunaanza kumwambia vile niko hivi, mimi nakuanga na shida ya kukojoa kwa kitanda. Nasikia vile mmecheka? It's a problem. It's killing marriages. Yes. I'm 28 but napatanga nimemaliza kwa kitanda, so what do you do? When is it better? Akuambie ama usitukie kwa marriage? Aseme mapema, si ndio? Unajua mmeshtuka ati do these things happen? They do. Sasa ni mtoto anakojoa ama ni huyu? Ni afadhali ujue, si ndio? Inakuanga, these things are there. I'm telling you this because I do a lot of premarital counseling and I hear these things. I ask them, unauliza vitu hivi, watu wananyamanza. Wakienda mmoja na kupigia simu, pastor ni ukweli nakuanga na hiyo shida. Sasa nitamwambia aje? That's why you are quoting, mwambie prepare in advance. Mwambie this is what is going to happen. If you're not going to say, kama utakuwa kwa apartment, tutakuwa tunatoa mattress nje na neighbors watashangaa. Hawa watu wana mtoto, mattress inafanya nini nje? There was something as we, yes. Yes. Please go ahead. Yes. Did you say what? Yes. Come on. Your future husband is talking. Yes.
You are dating this person and you're learning this person.
Yes.
Because me, I'm feeling like by the time that you're still learning this person, you're open and free, you can talk.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the right time to say any challenge that you have?
Not during dating. We are safeguarding. Do you know what the spirit of prophecy says? Just a moment. Just a moment. You know, some of these things, we are not making those principles here. We are trying to learn from the principles that have worked for other people. And those who have ignored have suffered. Are you getting that? So during dating, don't say your personal stuff. Because in the first place, you even have no opportunity. Do you go telling every girlfriend, okay, how many girlfriends do you have in life? Girlfriends in English. There are so many. Now, do you go telling every girlfriend, unaniona hivi mimi, nakuanga hivi. Is that what you do? Is that what you do? No, I'm getting this conversation. Why don't you tell them that? Because there's no attachment. You've not singled them out. Is that okay? Now, at what point who do you tell this? It's not your dates. You only speak this to someone you are courting. And by the time you are picking on someone for courtship, it means you have singled this one girlfriend from the many. Sasa umemsingle out, ni wewe. Are you getting me? And what if? Yes, that is better. Akiachana na wewe, you are very safe. Fadhali ya kuacha saa hii kuliko kuacha kwa ndoa. I'm telling you, it's easy You date someone for 3 years, akuacha the 4th year. Kuliko ingie kwa ndoa for 6 months, akuacha the 7th month. It is too bad. It is too heavy. You cannot realize this because you have not been there. Afadhali, I date you for 6 years, 7th year uniache. Kuliko unioe, after 2 months uniache. The damage is so enormous. There's a hand, and there's a hand, and we finish. You know, the problem is not me. It is your people. I also know. Please go tell them we are coming. Okay, thank you. All right, a very quick one, yes? Okay. You fantasize. Who can answer? Unafanya date? Date, okay. The problem is, if you begin to understand dating from the English point of view, you get everything wrong. Because dating, it comes from the word date. Ni kama ni date umetafuta ukae na mtu. That is wrong. That is not how Christians look at dating. And remember, our discussions are limited to Christian dating. Christian dating does not have a definition of date. Tarehe fulani tukutane na wewe. That is not the approach. Dating to the Christian is the level of saying, I am mature enough. I am out, God, guide me. I am on the lookout. You look at her, you look at her, you look at her, you look at her, and then you begin watching from a distance. Wanajua kama unaangalia. Let me ask you this. From the time tuanze Makambi, there are several girls here, and I know you're not married. Ni kila mmoja umenotice. According to Christians, in fact, umeanza kudate. Lakini hujawaambia. You've not talked to them. Who you? Ai? Okay. Allow me to have a private conversation with him. Si hapa ni sawa? Let's hear from him as we rush for the evening sermon.
Okay, my question was, because I have a brother who married a lady, and this lady came to realize that she had some complication in giving birth. Asingeweza kupata mtoi. So through prayers and what, so finally she came and got twins. Now I'm asking, my question is, for example, you have married a lady, then you come to realize she's a barren. Unaruhusiwa kubadilisha? Ama mwanaume.
Ngoja.
Nasema hivyo kwa sababu mimi ni mwanaume. So nikioa mwanamke, then ikakuja kugundulika kwamba yeye hawezekani.
Yeah,
ama
wacha nimuulize swali, a very simple question. Wewe ndio umeoa na ugundue kwa ndoa hauzai, utasikia aje ukibadilishwa?
Ni bora ni okay, according to me.
Utakubali ubadilishwe?
It's good ni mwache aende atengeneze generation, nijue mimi niko mwenyewe, nitakufa kivyangu vyangu.
Very good. I think it's a very serious discussion that we need to have, and that is important. And it's deep, which I cannot be able to handle now. But I want to answer the question you asked is very blunt, and that is good. The truth is, hakuna kubadilisha. Hakuna kubadilisha. Utakaa hapo. Na Mungu ni wa miujiza. Na kama mtapata mtoto wenu, you can still adopt. There are several ways. Yes, we even know some people, unapata kwamba mama hawezi aka-conceive directly. Then you get surrogate. There are several ways that you can still have a watoto without necessarily her becoming pregnant. But of course, I know it's also a big debate in the Christian community whether that is really very Christian. And so it's not a conclusive matter. And so it's something that people are still debating. But it's a big issue. Okay? It's a big issue. It's a big issue, not only just because of the children, but again, what if it is only one sex? Anazaa lakini amekuzalia tu wavulana, hakuna msichana. Ama ni wasichana tu, hakuna mvulana. So some of these things, if you don't agree during courtship, inawaletea shida. I told you there's a couple, I have young people who are supposed to wed hii mwezi wa 8. Tulipofanya marital counseling tukafika mwezi wa 5, something came up on the number of children. And these are people who have been dating 12 years. Jamaa kaenda ngambo, the girl was here, waited. So when they had now really stuff kuongea, tukafika story ya watoto. The girl said, mimi kwangu, I am alone, I need 6 kids. 6. And it's very serious. Na msichana akasema, me I want 1. Nikasema hata kama ni kusonga, watasonga mpaka wapi? I gave them close to 3 weeks. So akasema, nitajaribu nimpatie wa pili. Na ule akasema, kama itakuwa less 5, not even 4, 5. So the last meeting we had was, wewe basi nipatie wawili lakini nitazaa watatu nje. Na alisema in my presence. Na kuna sababu zake anatakia watoto 5. Do you think this will continue? You better fight now than fighting in marriage. Kubaliana mapema. And that is why it's important to have courtship. Wacha kujichocha. I'm a university material, mtu nimefanya mpaka masters, my boyfriend ni doctor amefanya. Wacha nikuambie, hizi vitu hakuna doctorate. Ni reality on where? On the ground. My sweetheart has something to say. Yes, dear. You have something to say?
Kuna wengine ambao wanaficha tabia zao. Hiyo ni courtship. Because there is a song my family knew. Okay. They read it, and after that, the man came to discover that this girl had done an abortion. So, and
that becomes the end. It's a very true story. Simesikia. Wakati wa courtship, ndio ukifikia courtship, umefungua roho yako. So be as open as you can. Na be honest kwamba roho nikumbushe niseme kila kitu hapa. Let me tell you one thing. There are things you can't hide. A true story that I know of a pastor friend, because pastors we share a lot. And this was actually, it was even documented in the pastor's magazine, in a kujanga quarterly. I was shocked when, yes, we read a story, kwamba he married a lady, and there's something he didn't know about the wife. Wamekaa close to about 8 years, and then the girl mwenye alikuwa girlfriend was the wife to the pastor, akamuuliza mkumbushe where they used to go and secure save abortion. Because she was driving wakati receive message, the last person alikuwa ameongea na yeye ni nani? Ni husband. So akachukua ana type akidrive, kumbe ana text the husband. So after message imedeliver, ndiye amediscover amepeana the information to the husband and not the girlfriend. Message ikienda, what do you do? How do you recall it back? I am not saying don't say as much as you can. Say everything. Yaani mpaka Mungu anajua kwamba hii hukusema kwa sababu ulisahau. Lakini sasa abortion kweli unaweza sahau? Kama ulikuwa na msichana wa wenyewe na kuna mtoto wako, hata kama ako Tanzania utasahau? Ati I forgot. Is it possible? No. This is your past and you have no control of the past of someone. Sikiza past yake. If it's something you can handle, pick it up. If you don't, and what mature people do, even after you share with them and you say this is too much for me, relationship inaisha na munaomba na no one speaks about that anymore. Au ni mature what? Christians. Lakini ukipata mtu ambaye si mature, atatoka na hiyo story yako. And that's what people fear most. But I know by the time unaanza kukoti mtu, kwa sababu ulimdate, unajua, do you know sometimes unaweza kuwa ni rafiki wa mtu na utarealize huyu hawezi keep my secrets. Maana atakuwa anakuambia, hey, tuambie acha nikuambie. Imagine nani na ulikuwa umemwaya unasema kwa wale wa dating ex. Na ajui. Mungu atubariki kwa jina la Yesu.